Hello, Helena. How are you?
Hi. Good, good. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. It's very nice to finally meet you and to chat with you. I know we're meeting virtually now, but it's nice to at least get to chat because we know each other from social media that we've been interacting. I see you're very active and you're very known on social media and I guess in the GTA, it's where you're based. So I really wanted to interview you, and I was looking forward to this interview because you do a job that is really very important for us lawyers, and you do transcripts. And so that's what we want to do. I'll let you introduce yourself, and then I'll ask you more specific questions about what you do. But go ahead.
Okay. My name is Helena Barbesin, and I am a court transcriptionist. I did work for York Region, just being a court reporter for many years. I was a court reporter for almost 20 years. And then I started branching out on my own and doing transcripts and formed a business and very successful business, which I'm very, very thankful and lucky for everybody that has helped me out along the way. And yeah, that's what we do. We transcribe court proceedings, but we also transcribe police videos, anything that you need to be listening and have that ear to hear, and then we put it onto paper. So that's
And
basically what our transcription company does.
and
We're
where's your office located, Helena?
Oh,
What's
my
the
office
address?
is located in different areas of my house. So it's located sometimes in the living room, sometimes in my closet. Depends on where I can get absolute quiet. But I am a little bit north of Toronto. I'm in like Markham, Stouffville area.
Hmm.
But I do transcribe all over Canada, specifically all over Ontario. So I'm not just in the GTA. In fact, one of my biggest clients is in Sudbury. I have another one in London. So I'm all over the place.
And I'm in the East region, and I always contact you whenever I have a
Thank you.
transcript that
Thank
requires th that I need to order. So you also have clients in the East region. So,
I do. Thank you.
well, while we're talking about your job here of transcripts and what you do, first of all, what's the name of your company, or does it have a name, or is it under your name?
No, I did incorporate 2 years ago. It's now
Hmm.
Transcripts Ontario.
Transcripts Ontario. Okay. And what we like to know, lawyers always, it's the rates. How much time do we need? How much in advance would you like us to place the order? And once the order is placed, how much time does it take? So tell us a bit about that.
Oh, this is a good one. I would love for you to place it 8 months in advance, but nobody does. So honestly, we have lawyers that call and say, I need this in an hour. Can you do it? And it's like an 8 hour recording. It's quite insane. But basically, I work with your schedule. So you tell me when you need it, and then I have an administrative assistant, and she kind of takes it in, takes the recording, orders it. We look at the time, and she says, okay, if you want it in 24 hours, it's going to be this much. If you want it in a 5 day expedite, it's going to be this much. And if you want it, it's a 30-day turnaround that the Ministry of Attorney General has set, will be this time. Lawyers don't work like that. So I don't know where the ministry is getting their timelines from, but lawyers say, I want it non-expedited, but I need it tomorrow. Like I don't want to pay those fees, but I need it. And you know what? It's 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 tough, but we work on something that makes us both happy because I understand sometimes unrepresented people or even people that have lawyers, like it's tough to pay these rates. The rates are set by the Ministry of Attorney General, so I can't do anything about them, but we work around it, right? Like sometimes if you need it fast, especially like legal aid, they don't pay expedited rates, but as a business, you have to do what you can to get your clients happy, right? To maintain that coming back for for transcripts. Self reps usually don't come back, but the lawyers do, right? So, um, yeah, we basically work with everybody. So if you need something tomorrow, we can work with you. Again, ideally, yes, I would love if you told me a year in advance, but that's not that's not possible. But also, lawyers say, "Oh, no rush." What they mean is, I don't need it tomorrow, but I need it the next day. So I really would love no rush. Give me a date, right? give me a solid, I need it March 3rd or 8th. You know what I'm saying? Because my no rush is like you're getting it in December.
But what about the situation where the lawyer is desperate? It's something that, like they need for the following day. Are you still able to do that? Like you can
Oh yeah, for
still
sure.
manage to do it?
Yeah, I have a company. We have to, in Ontario, you have to be authorized by the Ministry of Attorney General. So they're
Hmm.
called ACTS, which is an acronym for authorized court transcriptionist.
Yeah.
And so I subcontract, I rely on them a lot. I have a team of amazing ones that we vet through. We make sure that, just because you've graduated from the course and you can type does not mean you know what you're doing. So it's really difficult to find people that have that ear and that can really hear and understand what the legal talk is, right? You really need that experience. So it's hard. Although I will say I have some brand new ones that are excellent. So I mean, we do have a team of people. It's not just me, or else I would never be able to get it done on time.
Yeah, and you get, I guess, a lot of orders. So I think you're at a point right now where you can't manage to do every single thing on your own. Um,
So
but
I
I wanted to ask you, Helena, that when you do get these rush orders, is the rate still the same or does it become more expensive?
No,
Or
it's more expensive. So again, the ministry has given us the rate sheet and all the fees are on my website.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
www.transcriptionontario.ca and we have all the fees listed there. But again, like it sometimes it doubles, like depending, it's difficult. The pricing is difficult because there's nothing that we can do about it, or else we would get in trouble. Like we have undertakings as well, like lawyers do, but um, there's things that we can do to help make it less expensive for the client for sure. So sometimes we go through it with the customer and say, do you need the whole day? Maybe you only need a portion of it. So we do that. I know some companies don't do that, but we do that. So if you say, I only need this hour, I only need the cross-examination, we do that for you as well, just to because the rate depends on it's on a per page rate.
Hmm.
So it's not the amount of time I spend, it's how many pages there are in total. That way, when you get it, you can see there's 15 pages. I've charged you for 15 pages. So,
Okay, but one
right?
thing that I wanted to ask you because let's say like when I want to place an order and I because what I sometimes do is I like to get an estimate from my clients in advance of the
Right.
cost. So how does that work? How do you order the audio and then you check how long it is and then it gives you an estimate about how many pages it's going to be? Like how do you make that assessment?
That one's a tough one too. So really depends if it's on court transcripts, so court proceedings, right? So anything in front of a judge or whatever, we order the transcripts, but I mean we order the recording. But sometimes it's hard because like I don't remember if you've done this in the past, but you say the client needs this tomorrow, but I need to know how much it's going to be first. I need an estimate. And sometimes it takes records management in the courthouse 24 hours, 48 hours, a week sometimes to give us those recordings. So it's not always possible to get those recordings first. We try really hard because that's when we can give you the best estimate. And the best estimate is per hour of recording. It's about 35 to 40 pages, depending on if there's interruptions, if there's talking, like, what people are saying. Some lawyers have the need to constantly go, all right, like, so that adds up with the pages. And but when it's on police videos or anything that is not inside the courthouse, that becomes really difficult because an hour can range from 60 pages to triple that. So that's a really tough one. So I do tell the client, like, take this with a grain of salt, but here's the estimate. And they know that it is just an estimate and that it is by page rate. And on those ones that, it's getting way out of hand, we give the client like a heads up, like I'm 10 minutes into this and I'm already 30 pages. You know what I'm saying? So they know ahead of time. Like generally there's no surprises.
Yeah, and one thing I can say from my experience, because I did place several orders with your office, one good thing that I do appreciate is that you do give an estimate in advance. So that's great because clients sometimes they want to know how much they want to pay for the
Right.
transcript, but you also give an overestimate. So it's never going to be so far. I never had an experience where you told me something and it ended up being more. So it's always
That's
more, and
annoying.
then I have to return, extra money to the clients. So when they
Right.
pay in advance. So I mean that's a good thing as well.
Yeah, we try to go over
Yeah.
because it's always nice when they think it's going to be, $1,000 and it's really 800. So they see that $200.
Yeah.
It we realize that we're the go between the client and like they're not going to come and yell at us. They're going to yell at you.
Yeah.
And every bit that they're paying extra is like, what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? So we understand that even if we're giving back the 200, I mean, it makes the lawyer look good, like, oh, look, we're coming under budget. So
Yeah.
we're very cognizant of that. Um, for sure. But also legal aid, if you do work with legal aid in
Yes.
Ontario, they require an estimate first to see if your amount is approved. So that's crucial for some of the lawyers to get in advance, right? An appeal, like sometimes they need, again, a cross-examination, a ruling, of voir dire. They need something that might be very beneficiary to their case, but they can't get legal aid to pay for it. So then they have to realize, like, do we pay for it? So estimates in some instances with some clients are really crucial. Not all clients ask for estimates, very few do, but the ones that do ask, of course, we provide that because we understand that they need that.
Okay. Now, going back to the court transcripts, one thing that I wanted to ask, Helena, um, so it seems like the judge has to sign before it is released or something. So this is one
Right.
thing that I never really understood. So I would really
Nobody
like you to
does.
clarify what that is about.
So a lot of lawyers, paralegals, whatever, don't understand that
I
when
don't.
we type it verbatim. So I personally type it verbatim. I do not type, and the way I teach the girls or the guys that are with us to type is you're going to type what you hear. So if you're saying, I want this, I'm typing, I want this. You're not getting cleaned up. And a lot of other companies or other people do clean that up for you. I don't. I believe in I hear what I hear. Um, and I also believe that if I'm cleaning it up for the prosecution, I'm cleaning it up for the defense. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that not every act authorized transcriptionist agrees with that. That's my everyone gets treated fairly. I'm an impartial third party. So even though you hired me, the crowd's going to look just the way the crowd looks, and you're going to look just the way you look, right? It is what it is. So one thing you don't realize is that in Ontario, we are not allowed to release rulings, reasons, any kind of reasons that the judge is giving. So, reasons for a ruling, reasons for judgment, reasons for sentence, a charge to the jury, anything like that. Like anything that a judge takes time and writes down and kind of gives like a little speech on, even a ruling sometimes, we're not allowed to release that to you unless the judge looks it over and makes changes, like the changes that they want to make, and then they release it. Now, generally, those changes are supposed to be grammatical in nature. So they're supposed to like look over our work and be like, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, whatever. But not all follow those rules. And at the end of the day, I do have a lot of lawyers saying, I remember the judge saying this. And I now put a caveat at the end of my transcripts that say, it's been judicially edited. But it's just for those things that I mentioned, the ruling, the reasons, charges, things like that. It's not for just common talk or back and forth. Like that stuff doesn't get sent. But I'm not allowed. So, for example, if you order something, you say, I need a ruling tomorrow, my admin or my team is supposed to tell you this needs to go to the judge for review. We'll type it right now for you, but it could take them 3 months to get it back. It could take them 6 months.
Exactly, because that's sometimes the issue that we've had, and it's that's what sometimes takes extra time. It's not your work, it's not you personally who's taking that much time. It's sometimes the time that we need. And that's the answer that I was getting, that we're just waiting on the judge to sign, and
Yeah.
uh, and that's why I was like, well, why? I
What do you
just
mean?
never understood why they had to do
Yeah,
that.
it's really something that's frustrating to a lot of lawyers. And some of them have said to me, I would like to see the reasons before. Like, I want to see where those changes were made. And we're not allowed. Like, we're not
Mhm.
allowed. So at that time, we have to give you the email address to the judicial secretary, and then you take it up with them because we're not allowed to do that. And in most cases, like there's just some judges don't make differences at all. Like they say, if that's what I said, that's what I said. I love that. Some judges like to clean it up because I don't clean up, can't, won't, anything like that. Like I don't say gonna or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I do if they're saying cuz instead of because, they're getting cuz. So a lot of them like to, especially in Superior Court, they like to fix that. Um, which is fine, that's what it's there for. But some of them take out paragraphs. Like it's something.
Yeah,
It
and
is
then
something.
but then how authentic is this at the end? And that's only judges, right? Like lawyers, us lawyers, we don't get to do that. We I can't just
You
go
don't
back
get to
and
do
say,
that.
well, I want to change how the questions that I asked or
No, if I, like this can be really controversial because I do have some judges on my pages that or JPs that aren't going to like this, but I mean, it's unfortunately it's not my problem. The lawyers have to take that up with, the rules because we sign an undertaking saying, okay, we'll do this. And we are impartial and we don't work for the judges. We don't work for anybody. We work for ourselves, but we do have to follow the rules. So we do. But if I was a lawyer, I wouldn't like that.
yeah.
It's not something that
And is this something only in Ontario or is it
no,
everywhere?
I
To your
I've had that
knowledge.
in BC. I've typed in British Columbia. I've typed in not Nova Scotia, sorry. I've typed in Nunavut and Alberta, and they all get to look at it.
Okay, so
So
this
I'm
is
not sure if
just
it's
for
everywhere.
judges. Yeah.
It's just for judges, and it's just in that little blurb where they go off on their, explanation or their charge or whatever, just to make sure. Because I think if they're appealed or if those rulings get released on Canly or on LexisNexis, anything, they want that perfected. I'm not sure what the reason is, to be honest.
Okay.
Not it's not something that we're allowed to change because I think verbatim is verbatim. It's what you hear is
Hmm.
what you hear. And I don't believe that anything should be altered or taken out. But that's again my opinion. Don't come at me.
Yeah.
So
So apart from that, that could sometimes take up some time. It's waiting for the judges to actually sign and give the approval that this is how
yeah,
they want it to be released. Otherwise, like the timeline, like usually how much time, and I understand that it depends on the nature of the
it
transcript. Like
does.
some are longer than others, but I
Right.
mean,
Appeal is usually 30 days. So we
okay.
have like a timeline there. We do a certificate for that. But really, there is no timeline. It should be 30 days, but it never is. Because if I say for you to for example, let's say you have something and you don't want to wait 30 days, right? Like, and I know that a lot of my colleagues adhere to that. I don't. But again, that's a personal preference. I say like, when do you need it? And you say to me, well, what's the fastest you can get it to me without expediting? And I kind of, swear under my breath, but then I go, in a week and a day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of lawyers place that saying I need it in 6 business days because they know that they're just avoiding that 5 day expedited window. And so sometimes they do that, like, but some of them are really, really respectful and cognizant. And they say, like, we know you're busy, get it to us when you can, but we'd really like it in 3 weeks. And
Hmm.
I'm like, no problem. And those are my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they understand that if everybody's asking for it in 6 days, that's not going to happen. Plus, the subcontractors are going to get annoyed, right? They're going to say, like, I don't want to do this lawyer stuff. Like they're just so I'm only as good as my subcontractors as well. So you know what I mean? It's going to be difficult for me to do 300 pages tomorrow. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's difficult. Yeah.
Okay.
So
And how many subcontractors do you have, Helena?
I have about I have about 30 regulars
Hmm.
like that work on a regular basis, that take work on a regular basis. They also contract to do their own work. In our field, we're all subcontractors. So if you're with a company, you also get your own work and you're allowed to, go with other subcontractors. So I don't own anybody. I don't have exclusive rights to any
Yeah.
authorized transcriptionist. That's actually illegal for us to do. We're not allowed to threaten transcriptionists that you have to stay with us or you're not going to get any work or whatever. You're not allowed to do that. So they are free to accept their own work. So we kind of just put the work out there And again, we do vet our transcriptionists. We make sure that they type the way we want. We're all human, we do make mistakes. So far so good though. But clients do come back to us and say, "Oh, like, can you help with this or whatever?" Um, so generally 30, but sometimes we're over that. Like we have to branch out and kind of look for help online and go, who can help? We have our own groups on Facebook and our own general networks. I belong to a couple networks of people.
Yeah.
I'm part of the Ottawa reporting group, and they're fantastic. They're well known in their region, and they're great. And then, I have a couple others of my favorites that we just kind of go back and forth and give work to, and vice versa, take work from. So that's nice too. We're all like a big team.
Now, one interesting point that I do want to talk about, and this is something that we were discussing before we started recording, and it is AI. So, how is that having an impact on your job? So, you're doing very well, you have your company, and you're very busy, but how is
Very lucky,
AI
yes.
impacting your work? And I
To be
guess,
honest, I'm really not sure how it's impacting me right now. Um, I'm losing business because of it, because
yeah.
lawyers, instead of saying, can you transcribe this, might be running it through AI, or might be like, I know that some police agencies run their stuff through AI. I don't know if you've ever tried running anything through AI, but it's terrible.
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean
try to,
that's the main concern. How accurate is AI? Because
it is
sometimes it has funny words that
right
have
now, it is
nothing to do.
extremely inaccurate. I don't care what software you're using, it is extremely inaccurate. It doesn't, even basic English, it can't get the grasp of, but if you have an accent on top of it, or you have somebody using Latin, or you have somebody saying something in their own language, like if they're Persian or if they're Greek or if they're whatever, and they say a word, whereas I would know because I'm not a computer, I know what they're saying.
Yeah.
AI does not catch that. So it is terrible. You're not allowed to use AI in court right now, but if the lawyer wants it just to kind of go over their own notes, sometimes they do it for themselves. They don't have that extra $1,000, 2,000, sometimes 5,000 to pay for transcripts. And that's totally understandable. I get it. They're not going to get the accuracy, but sometimes they say, I just want the gist of it.
Hmm.
So I mean, they're getting it. I will say that we do a lot of non-court reporting stuff.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of police videos, we do discoveries, we do all sorts of stuff. And in branching out to find people that can help transcribe, I have turned online to other countries and said, can anyone help? Like, let me see how you do. And it is terrible. I have not found one person, I hope they're people that can help me with the quality of work that we have. I know, again, my competitors are using AI, uh, or they're using people from other countries. I do not find that for us, it's just not an option. I know, yeah, we might be able to provide it to you for $3 a page instead of the 650. And if you want that, or the 630, and then if you want that, that's fine. But at my company we have a certain standard, and I just haven't gotten there yet. I just, in all conscience, can't release this to you. So yeah, I'll run it through AI for you if you want, but I would tell you, like, it's free. Here, take it. Like, I don't need you to pay for that because I just can't stand behind it. You're definitely not getting a certification when it's running through AI. So for right now, AI is terrible. I've tried all the brand new software that comes out, the masks, everything, they're terrible. So I'm sure any lawyer that's run anything through AI has seen the quality that it is. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's good enough for what you're doing. If you're like, I just want the gist of what she's saying, you know, that's it is
But
what it
then
is.
how do we balance that, right? Because the issue here is that if we want to order a transcript, sometimes it takes also a bit more time, but it's a lot more expensive as opposed to going
It's a
to
lot.
AI, where you can get it for free. Sure, it's not the best quality, it's not very accurate, but like you said, it just gives you the gist of what's being said. So how do we balance that then? Like what's can and I know you mentioned that it's not you who determines the rates for the
Yeah.
transcripts, but they are high because like once we get to more than 20 pages, it starts to get
Oh, they're
really
high.
heavy. for the clients to pay.
Yeah, they've had to. I've had clients having to like mortgage their house. It's like terrible. I feel terrible. There's nothing I could do, but I hear what you're saying. And I think that's a balancing act that maybe some council have to do, or, to say, to come to an agreement with, do I need the whole thing? Right? Do I need it all? Do I need just a portion? Like that helps significantly. And also what you can order and what you can't. Like it's not something that I can, unfortunately, I leave that in the client's hands because, I don't know what your defense is. I don't know what's crucial to your defense. I don't know. Some lawyers are like, I want every single little uttered word. And I
Yeah.
would like that if I was a lawyer. If I was a lawyer, but some of them are in it for a plea deal. So they don't necessarily need adjournment proceedings and all that. On 11Bs, for example, some 11Bs only need, the charter 11B. Sorry, I realize that sometimes, not everybody's a lawyer, but on charter issues, sometimes you don't need every single little thing that's happening, right? You
Yeah.
only need that adjournment portion. So we do that for you. We just do what's relevant to adjourning a matter. But some lawyers say, no, I want every single thing. And unfortunately, that's not something I can decide. I can't decide how to run a defense or run a prosecution. And especially for self-rep people, like they're stunned when they hear the price, right?
Yeah.
Paralegals are stunned because a lot of paralegals don't do civil, they don't do criminal court. So when I give them a quote of $5,000, they're like, what? But my quote's the same as my neighbor's quote, right? We're all quoting you the same. It's just
Yeah.
depending on what it comes up with.
So, and it depends on the length of the proceeding, of course,
That's
and
all it
the
depends on.
longer, yeah, like the longer the actual court proceeding, the more expensive it's going to be. Now, but I mean, is there any hope that the rates are going to go down at some point? I know it's not up to you,
So
but is there any discussion around that?
they're definitely not going down, but they
No,
might be
they're
going
going up.
up.
Oh no. So
It's
more
crazy.
AI.
But so the problem in our field as well is that you do have some transcriptionists that say, I'm working for like minimum wage here because it takes a long time to transcribe, right? We have a
Yeah.
foot pedal. We stop and start. I mean, if you've ever gotten your secretary or if you've ever sat there, I know that a lot of lawyers have transcribed their own stuff because they're like, we can't afford this,
Yeah.
especially new counsel or ones that are employed. They're not part of a big firm that can afford this stuff. They're their own law firm, and sometimes it's really difficult, especially to maybe not for you, but to explain it to the client. Like all these extra costs for the defense. It's it's hard. I am very cognizant of that. Um, so I'm not in agreement with the price increase. We have not gotten a price increase in 10 years. And our fees don't go up. Um, and the time before that we got a price increase, I believe it was in the 80s. So our fees are not going up unreasonably. They're just unattainable for a lot of people, and it's hard because I've seen the articles in the paper about that, like access to justice, especially to an appeal. If you don't get transcripts, you can't, but sometimes you don't have the 10,000,
Yeah.
$20,000 for that. It's difficult, and that's why I said we work with you. I mean, I try everything possibly in my power. I'm human. I feel bad. I feel bad for people, so I'm not in agreement with the price increase. I know that there's a authorized court transcription group that has started. I'm not in it, I'm not part of it, but they've asked the ministry, like, please look at our rates and give us a raise. Like we're not even at cost of living increases, right? But again, I'm lucky. I have regular clients. I have a booming business right now, so I'm not in that field, but I do feel bad for everybody that is in that field, like that in that little area that needs that
Yeah.
extra money. It's not a career. A lot of people think that, oh, I'll just get my secretary, or I know people that are like, oh, I make not me personally, but like speaking for themselves, they make a good living, so they get their neighbor to do it and their friend. And I've got my in-laws to do it, my friends and whatever. But what I found is that I type at a certain standard, and it's hard because, yes, people might pass the course, but then when you look at their work, I think the schools are kind of spitting them out because you're like, that does not say that. Like that is not what happened. And a lot of lawyers get upset because just because they're authorized. And I think if I can get a group of them together, they'll be like, yeah, I've had some pretty crappy work, pretty crappy transcripts. And the problem is now it's quality. And so we at my company, we focus on quality. And if you're not happy, you fix it. Like we do whatever we can to make it better. Um, so sometimes, you can't employ your friends or you can't employ the people that you want to employ because your standards are different. Now, that being said, I'm human. If you look through my transcripts, you're going to find mistakes. You're going to say, oh shit, there's a mistake, or sorry, there's a mistake, there's a mistake. I'm not perfect, but I do have quite the client base that trusts me and I don't want to let them down. I have amazing reviews from clients, not they're not necessarily self-represented people. They're well-known lawyers that are like, please, can I give you a good review? And I love that. I appreciate that. I appreciate the referrals. I appreciate everything. And there's nothing that tells me that they appreciate me more than the repeat work or the referrals. And they don't realize how grateful I am to them because they've allowed me to do this for so long.
Yeah, and it is a difficult job what you do because I have to say that sometimes, especially when I'm in a hurry and I really need to get a transcript for something and I don't like I can't wait for an order, so I'll just transcribe like if it's something short, I'll do it myself. It's really hard because sometimes you don't understand what is being said or there are some portions that you aren't inaudible. You can't really hear what is being said. So how do you do that? How do you deal with these parts where you can't hear or it's not very clear what is being said? How do you do it, and remain, accurate as much as possible?
I think it's from experience, you try as best as you can. Like I do know that I'm good with accents. I'm good with if
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense, that's not what they said. You know what I mean? Like I have that little common sense piece where I don't just put a word in that doesn't make sense. Um, so I'm I have a really good ear and I work in really, really, really quiet place. And I don't use I use earbuds like the ones you have in your ear right now. They're
Hmm.
wired and I can hear everything. There are times where, somebody's coughing and you don't know what they're saying. Like it's impossible. So
Yeah.
you use discernible. But a lot of the times I know that when I'm training new people and they say inaudible, inaudible, or they write something, I'd rather them say inaudible than write something that's not there, right? Like that they can't say, so they guess.
Yeah.
So I know that's how I train my people is don't guess, write inaudible. When I listen to it, I'll catch it. So I've even had the courthouse come to me and say, this is littered with inaudibles. Can you go around it and see what they say? So my work doesn't necessarily come from regular clients. Sometimes it comes from clients that are like, I've had this transcribed. It's terrible. Can you fix it? And I do try my best. Sometimes, very rarely, sometimes I say, yeah, this is inaudible. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Like, it's terrible. And they know that ahead of time. So if you were to give me a recording that is completely ridiculous, I tell you, so
Yeah.
you're not spending the money to hear and the inaudible goes to inaudible,
Yeah.
period. Like that doesn't help anyone and the client's not going to be happy with that. So if it's not transcribable, I'll tell you. But usually we don't have a problem. Yeah.
Okay. And what are
Um,
some of, yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say COVID was a little bit tricky because, as you know, we all went on Zoom,
Yeah.
and to get that to figure the remote stuff figured out sometimes was terrible because again, it brings you into the court reporters. And because I was a court reporter for a long time, I do know what the court reporters go through and how they're trained, and they're not trained. So they don't know that the mic's not working and you can't hear anything the witness is saying. And so I've had a pretty unhappy lawyers, judges that have, you've said that person's not at the microphone, so you can't get this. And they're really upset because how do you access justice in that case, right?
Yeah.
Something that should be your right to get the recorded copy of that or to transcribe it, and now it doesn't exist is something very, very difficult. So I know a lot of lawyers like Zoom and they like, but as transcriptionists, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, well, and it also must be
Easy.
difficult to transcribe when you're not also seeing the person while they're speaking, right? Like that's a challenge as
For
well
me, it
because
is. For me, it is because
yeah,
I am a lip reader
yeah,
and I say, what did they say? So the police videos are so helpful because
yeah,
I can go on and be like, that's not what he said. He said this, because like I can second guess who's talking because I can see their lips moving.
yeah,
So, of course, whenever we have video, it's the best. So we are branching into a lot more discoveries and stuff like that because we have we're expanding so fast. So discoveries are great because, it's me and you. I can see what we're saying. Plus, I do a lot of work for CLA. I do a lot of work for a lot of lawyer organizations, and I am a big proponent for my own charities. And sometimes I do work for them. And, as long as it's face to face, I can do it. But you know what? My job is to hear things. So sometimes I can't look at you while I'm typing, right?
yeah,
So sometimes that's difficult too. So I just deal what I get, I guess. You do what you can.
yeah. And Helena, you also transcribe for non-criminal matters, right?
I do. I do. Yeah,
So
we do POA, we do small claims, immigration, OLB, CBSA, like we do, it's I guess it's a wide spectrum. It's a huge, huge business. But I would say it's hard because everybody thinks they can do it until they try to do it. And then they
no,
say,
it's really
we have
hard.
so many acts that take this course and they don't last a year because they can't do it. It's
Well,
also a
one thing.
sedentary lifestyle, so it's
Well, and
hard.
well, that's one thing, and that will maybe be the last topic. I don't want to take much of your time, but
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
one thing that I did want to ask you about is burnout, because we're all in the legal profession feeling a burnout, especially now that we have a backlog of cases. There are way too many cases in the system. You guys who have to transcribe all of that, you must be feeling that. So, how is that impacting your side?
I've made some amazing friends like that. They start out as clients and then they become friends.
Yeah,
So, you confide in and you talk to, and because my regular friends don't know the field because none of them are lawyers,
yeah,
they my work friends have become some of my best friends because they understand.
yeah,
And so burnout is real. It is the top reason why I would leave this industry. It's not because I don't like it. I really love what I do. My hands are not hurting yet as much. I've toned back and do more of the management side. I don't type as much, but burnout is real. I am sitting for 18 hours a day. I'm
hmm,
not taking 10,000 steps. Some days I don't take 800 steps. I've gained about 25 to 30 pounds. It's not a healthy lifestyle at all.
yeah,
Burnout is bad, and it's not, for me, it's not what I hear. I do a
hmm,
lot of child exploitation, murders. That doesn't bother me. But it's the burnout of dealing with clients, dealing with self reps, dealing with other acts that is burning me out. And a burnout is real. And I have a work life balance is a really good way to maintain that. Get your exercise. I don't do it. Like I'm in the middle of it right now,
yeah.
and I am trying again. We're fresh into the new year. I am trying with my workouts. I miss boxing. I miss jogging. It, sometimes I don't even take 500 steps a day, and it's very unhealthy. And, the people that suffer aren't your clients because they'll find another act. It's not, lawyers, they have that loyalty to you, but when you don't give them what you need, they'll go somewhere else,
Yeah.
right? Like they're not as loyal as you think they are. But the people around you, your friends, your family, they're the ones that suffer. And I remember one year the kids were like really little, like my kids are now 19 and 17.
Hmm.
And one year they were just like 10 and 8. And all they wanted for Christmas was for me to take the day off. And it was hard
Oh.
because I couldn't give them that. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm also a workaholic, right? So,
Yeah.
there's always excuses for what we do, why we do. And at the end, I'm the reason that I'm burning out. And I'm the reason that, so I mean, you have to find that work-life balance that I would love if anybody has found it to be able to share it with me, but I haven't found that yet.
I think we're
Really
all
hard.
searching for work-life balance. We hope and we like to believe that one day we will get there. But
Yeah.
until then, I think we're all burning out together
I think
and
it's
so
I
we
think it's
figure
just all of us are like starfishing on
yeah.
our bed at night. And the worst thing is like it's that mental fatigue where at the end of the day
Yeah.
you say like, you just want to watch TV,
Yeah.
right? You don't want to
Yeah.
get on the treadmill. You don't want to, you're just mentally, there's too much information in your brain. And that's, I have a lot of great friends that work out and they're able to expel that. But the last thing I want to do at the end of the day is get on the treadmill. Like it's torture. I'd rather do another child exploitation case than get on the treadmill. So, I mean, I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm not laughing at that. I'm just saying for our work, sometimes, you become immune to things too. So
Yes.
it is what
Especially
it
in
is, but
criminal law. I mean, we are always
you have
listening
to.
and exposed to very tough situations. So we get
You
used to
have to
them
be able to
at the end.
let go of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Helena, I don't want to take much of your time. I know like it's a work day and it's probably your break time as well, but thank you so much for taking the time today to
Thank
chat with me
you. It was
about your work, and it was really
no
good to get
problem.
to know more about what
Thank
you
you.
do. And we'll talk again soon and we'll keep in touch definitely, and hopefully
For
I can
sure.
meet
So
you in
when you're in
person.
the area, you come for a coffee, we'll go
Yeah.
for dinner. That would be great. Thank you
Mm,
so much. It was great.
definitely.
Nice to put a face to the name.
Yes. It's so nice to see you, and thank you for taking the time.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.